Is taxation theft? We'll ponder that question next on the Constitution Study.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from a long through line of everyday Americans.
Hello there, everyday Americans. Paul Engel with the Constitution Study here, and we are going to ponder the concept of, is taxation theft? Now, before we get there, let's remind you to head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com. That's where you can find out everything we're doing at the Constitution Study, keep up to date with where I'm going to be, what events I'm speaking at, and what we're working on and studying. And today, we want to ponder this idea of, is taxation theft? Now, I've heard this said quite a few times. I know a lot of people who make this statement online, on the internet, on podcasts and stuff like that. And it got me thinking. My first reaction was, yeah, all right, I don't like paying taxes, so let's call it theft. But here at the Constitution Study, we go down a little deeper than that. We actually look at the words and how they're defined, and we want to use words properly. So I did something unique. I actually went and looked up the word theft. In fact, I used the Merriam-Webster dictionary, the modern one, not the 1828 one, because, well, we're dealing with modern language today now, aren't we? So theft is the act of stealing, specifically the felonious taking and removing of personal property with intent to deprive the rightful owner of it. Okay, that sounds pretty cool, right? It's the felonious taking. All right, felonious may be a problem, but if we go back and look, remember, felonious doesn't mean a felony. It means the illegal taking. But it's a taking or removing of personal property with the intent to deprive. It's also referred to as the act of stealing. So when I look up steal, it's to take the property of another wrongfully, and especially as a habitual or regular practice. So, all right, here's the thing, and I'm sure I'm not going to make a lot of friends when I say this. Taxation in the United States is not automatically theft. In some countries it may be, but in the United States we forget. Taxes are created by a government we created. Right? All bills for raising revenue must start in the House of Representatives, the people we elect to represent us, our agents. So since we have empowered them through the Constitution to collect taxes, and we have chosen the people who are collecting those taxes, it's not theft. See, it's not the wrongful taking because we've told our agents to go take the money. Now, before you turn me off, listen to the rest of the argument, because there's a little more here than first meets the eye. Because if we go back to the definition of theft, one of the definitions is an unlawful taking as by embezzlement or burglary. And that brought up an interesting thought. You see, we the people, when we established the federal government via the Constitution, we created certain powers and delegated to them certain authority to do certain things. And we gave them the power to tax, to collect revenue, to do those things. The problem is, most of what the federal government does is not legal. We did not authorize them to do these things. So when the government collects money to do things it's not legally authorized to do, that's embezzlement. Now, that's why I say taxes in the U.S. are not automatically theft, because we have authorized through our agents the collection of taxes. It's our fault. The problem is our agents are embezzling money from us. Embezzlement is to appropriate something such as property entrusted to one's care fraudulently to one's own use. Now, I'm sure there are people out there who will say, but Paul, they don't collect it for their own use, they collect it for the use of others. Not exactly. So yes, they put it all in, we do this for the poor, we do this for the needy, we do this for the downtrodden. They do it for their own aggrandizement. See, they think they know better how we should spend our money. They want to use it the way they want to use it. Look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, Marco Rubio. You look at all of these, and what you see are, I picked on both sides, but what you see are people who think they know better how we should spend our money. They want to use it the way they want to use it. And the fact they're not legally allowed to means they're embezzlers. Now, before you go getting all high and mighty saying, well, you see those dirty, rotten, no good politicians embezzling all our money. Taxation's embezzlement. Remember, they are your agents. They aren't independent from you. They work for you. They represent you. You are embezzling from your neighbor. Oh. See, that's the problem with these catchy phrases is they sound good and they get us all excited, but when we get down into the details, we find out it's a bit more than we thought. See, again, let me go through this one more time just to make sure we're on the same page. Taxation in the U.S. is not automatically theft. I say in the U.S. because we have laws. We have established authority for our agents to collect taxes from us to pay for certain things. So it is our agents. We are in effect taxing ourselves. Now, if we don't like the way we're taxing ourselves, then the problem is we need to have our agents comply with our wishes. The problem is our wishes are to do a lot more than we've actually authorized our agents to collect. We've asked them to embezzle money for us. Yes, we have. We asked them to provide for the poor. We've asked them to provide for the old. We've asked them to provide for the needy. We've asked them to provide for medical care. We've asked them to provide for education. We've asked them to provide all these things for us free. We've asked them to embezzle money for us. So if there is theft going on, we, the American people, are doing it through our agents in the government. Now that may not sound quite as nice as you had hoped. I mean, I'm sure many of you thought was, yes, taxation is theft. But the problem still rests with the American people. And until we realize that every dollar we take from the federal government and from the state governments came out of another citizen's pocket, and we start treating it like, you know what, I just took their money. I wouldn't go down to my neighbor and take money out of his wallet to pay my bills, would I? I wouldn't go to my friend's wallet and reach in money and say, well, you see, I'm hungry. I need help getting food. Reach into his pocket and take money, would you? If you're old, you wouldn't go to your kids and say, you know what, I'm old. Give me money, give me money. Well, some of you might, but a lot of you do. I've had this discussion with family members. Now, I agree. We have a moral duty to help others. I have a moral duty to help those who are needy, those who are hungry, those who are truly destitute, incapable of earning money for themselves. I have a moral duty to take care of the elderly in my family and to take care of the ill in my family. That's my moral duty, and I do it willingly. But that does not give me the moral authority to take your money to do it. Nor does my moral duty to take care of my family and to take care of those who are needy give you the authority to come take the money from me and tell me how it should be spent. The problem is the American people are embezzling money from themselves. They're running a Ponzi scheme on themselves. And I don't just mean Social Security. If you look up the definition of a Ponzi scheme, Social Security is by definition a Ponzi scheme. It's only legal. Well, it's sort of legal because the federal government passed a law, but that law is repugnant to the Constitution. Therefore, it's void, so it's really illegal. But look at the federal government as a whole. They are spending money they don't have. We are spending money. They're spending our money for us that we don't have. And then we blame them. You want to know where the problem is? Look in the mirror. As I'm recording this, I'm looking at my face in the monitor. It's my fault as much as anybody else's. What have I done to rein in an out-of-control government? What have I done to limit the spending, to limit the authority, to return the federal government to the box the people established for it? And ask yourself, what have you done? See, if you think taxation is theft, then you have to tell your agents, your elected representatives, now both in the House and the Senate, that they can't collect any taxes because it's theft. And they would have every right to come back to you and say, but wait a second, you've authorized us to collect taxes for these purposes. Well, then you need to go to them and say, fine, but any other purpose not specifically listed in the Constitution is embezzlement. Stop taking that money. I won't take another dollar. I won't take another blood dollar. I won't take another theft dollar from the American government. I was at a conference, and I had a gentleman talking to me about the book I've been working on. Hopefully should be out later this year. And he looked at me and said, well, you know, the federal government has programs where they'll pay you to write a book. And I just stared at him. And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'd be a hypocrite. Because the federal government has no authority to pay people to write books. So if I were to take money from the federal government to write a book about why we shouldn't allow the government to pay people to write books, that'd kind of make me a hypocrite, wouldn't it? So I hope this pondering has made you think. You know, yes, I know taxation theft, it's a nice, catchy phrase, but we need to think a little deeper about this. We need to look at the actual language. Taxation is not automatically theft, but most of what the federal government does is embezzlement. And most of what the American people allow their government to do, better way of phrasing it, most of what the American people allow their government to do is embezzlement. That makes you a criminal. You're an accomplice in the act of embezzlement from the rest of your fellow citizens. Maybe if we thought about our money that way a little more, we'd give a little less power to the federal government to embezzle money for us. So again, I hope this made you think. I hope you really got a little deeper into this. You know, I agree taxation is out of control, but let's not turn it into a buzzword, especially one that's technically wrong. Let's be honest about this. The American people are embezzling money from themselves, and it's time we tell our agents to stop it. And if they won't, it's time we find better agents. So again, keep pondering, keep thinking. Head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com. Find out what's going on. Find out where I'll be. Most of all, keep reading, keep studying. Let's keep teaching the next generation to be free. And I'll see you next time on the Constitution Study. Have a great day.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from